you doing, family? Welcome to another edition of Bantu Tesla. Today I'm going to focus on part 3 of Tony Seba's innovative predictions for our future with energy and transportation innovations. Okay? The reason why I want to do this last part, I really decided to do it kind of at the last minute, because when I reviewed Tony Seba's the his total video, I noticed that there were some aspects of his presentation that I kind of glossed over, and I realized that, wow, this is heavier than I thought it was. And I said, let me bring it to your attention because I think it's going to be important so that you understand the value of why you really want to try to invest as much as you can into any stock that came up on his list of 12 innovative 11 innovative products that are going to be coming out that's going to converge into what is going to be this new expansion in a revolution, I should say, in energy and transportation usage. Okay, the first thing I'm going to focus on is this slide here, where he says this is not an energy transition. This is a technology disruption, and he is 100% right about that. This what's going on here with these items that he talks about in this presentation that he reshot, or he completed in 2016. He did one earlier, I think in 2015, but this is one he did in another organization in 2016, and he upgraded his slides a wee bit, so I wanted to go over that with you and try to do a quickie on the last of the stuff that he covered. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a little bit of the video that where he did this presentation. It's a YouTube video, and I'll link it, so you guys can go ahead to it and see the whole video for yourself. But again, this is Tony Seba. This is, you've seen parts of this before, but what I'm focusing on is the last few slides, and I wanted to correct a few things that I missed on the last few slides that he did. So let's go ahead and listen to what he talks about. And as the slides come up, I'm going to stop it, hold your hand, slow walk you through, and point out the things that the key elements of his presentation that I think need to be expanded on in your mind so that you can understand the magnitude of what he predicted 4 years ago in this particular presentation. But in his book he produced 6 years ago in 2014. Okay, so I want you to see how far ahead and why I say Tony Seba is the Orson Welles, more or less, of his time, but on a much more exponential magnitude for what he's bringing to the table as far as awareness for what's going to happen here with this innovation in energy usage. Okay, so let me go ahead and bring that up, and let's watch this little part and see what Tony has to say.
Electric vehicles, and I always thought that 200 miles was the minimum that you need, 10,000 miles per year, which means that we would need 50 years to drive an EV. Who has 50 years, right? Well, if you live in Cuba, you do, right? But fleets drive about 100,000 miles per year. So if you're a fleet over 5 years, you would need one EV or 3 ICE vehicles. So if you're a fleet, Amazon, FedEx, UPS, and so on, right now, it makes economic sense for you to buy an EV. And that's because over 5 years, it would be a lot cheaper. You would need one EV or essentially 3 ICE vehicles. Now, what about the cost curve of EVs? Again, this was the cost curve that I published 6 years ago. And I said, by 2020, by this time now, you will see the market is going to offer 200-mile electric vehicles. And I always thought that 200-mile was the minimum that you need for mainstream adoption. So by now, it would offer $30,000 EVs, which would be cheaper than the median new internal combustion engine car. So by now, and I made this prediction years ago, 6 years ago, buying a new EV, certain new EVs, not all of them, is cheaper than buying a new internal combustion engine vehicle. So for less money, you get 3 to 7 times longer range. You get to pay 10 times less fuel. You get to essentially have a car with no maintenance, car that's more powerful. What do you think the market's going to do? This is the moment of disruption, right? So if it takes another year, right, the tipping point, 2021, and I made that prediction a long time ago.
Okay, so now this chart that this slide that he brings up here, where he predicts that and I kind of mischaracterized this slide in my last movie, and I want to clean that up in this movie. He says that by 2020 that they will offer a new EV that will give you 200 miles on a charge that would eclipse or be cheaper than a gas-powered vehicle. Okay? And Tony's right. He's 100% right. It's 2020 December, and Hyundai and Kia both offer a fully electric EV that will give you 200 miles to a charge. Hyundai and Kia both offer that. 2 cars. And he didn't say all. He said there will be some. And he's 100% right about that. Okay? This is pivotal. Because he's not talking about Tesla. He's just saying that there will be EVs available that will be cheaper than a $34,000 ICE internal combustion engine car with 2,000 breakable parts. Okay, and you're gonna have an EV that has far less, cheaper to run, no gas, like 95% less maintenance than the ICE car that costs more now in 2020. Okay, they're not everywhere, and he didn't say in the U.S. in particular, but it will be available in the world. Okay, in the automotive market, and he's just talking about automotive right now. Okay, and Tony's right. So let's go on and see what else Tony has to say.
2021. The other thing that this map is telling you is this: by 2025 or so, you're going to have, the market is going to offer unsubsidized EVs with 200-mile range for $12,500 by 2025, which means that every new vehicle by 2025 will be electric. Every new car will be electric. Every new van will be electric for purely economic reasons.
Okay, there you have it again, folks. Okay, this is something that I missed in the last movie, and that's why this is the core of why I'm doing this movie. I'm going to go on and highlight some other areas that I missed, okay? But in order to do justice and respect to what Tony Seba is giving us here, okay? And Tony is just giving us this for free. But if you're a stock investor, as I am, this is solid gold. This is going to make me hundreds of thousands of dollars. Okay, I'll scrape up and go out and sell apples on the corner if I have to get enough money to get in on the data that he gave us there. He's telling you by 2025, every new vehicle, he didn't say all vehicles sold, he said every new vehicle sold will be electric. And they will be offering one, he said, for what, less than, it said by 2025, he doesn't even have that on the chart here. But he said it would be for less than $13,000 or $12,000 for a vehicle. And when you include transportation as a service, by 2025, he's really hitting you with two different things. Because in his other movies, he said by 2025, and he said it in this movie as well, nobody will want to own a car by 2025. So, and the few people that will own cars, I think what he's trying to read between the lines, the few people that will own cars will have access. It doesn't mean they will buy one, but they'll have access available. A fully electric car, that will, and also what he's not mentioned, there'll be autonomous cars, okay, and for less than $13,000 with 200 miles per charge. And by 2025, I can almost guarantee you that it'll be faster to charge your car. I'm adding this in, okay, it'll be faster to charge your car than it will be to fill it up with gas, because they already got charging speeds, and we're only in 2020. They already got charging speeds up to almost 15 minutes. You'll get 80 miles. Tesla is moving toward creating a battery that's going to give you 80 miles to a charge in 15 minutes. A little bit more, maybe a little bit less. And this is just 2020. So imagine 5 years from now, at the rate they're going, I predict by 2025, when you touch that thing to your charge thing, it'll be fully charged. That's how fast this stuff is advancing. Okay? And again, it's just a prediction we're making. I'm making, not Tony C, but I'm making this prediction. Okay? And that you'll be able to touch the thing to your car, and within less than a minute, your car will be fully charged. Especially if it's only halfway or something like that, 50%, and you just need another 40% charge or 45%. Less than a minute. That's how fast these cars are going to be charging. Okay? And those are the ones that'll give you 200 miles per charge. Now, the bigger ones that are giving you 400 miles per charge, 500 miles per full to fill it up, when you get a full charge, it may take a little longer. But at that point, a minute? I mean, it takes you almost 2 minutes to fill up a car from empty, 3 minutes to fill up a gasoline powered car. And which at that point, 2025, forget about it. Forget about it. We won't even be talking about a gas powered car. Only morons and people, and everybody it'll be ubiquitous. The knowledge and the awareness will be ubiquitous that anybody that owns a gas powered car is a moron and a fool, because they're going to be wasting money. Okay, let's go on and see what Tony has to say.
And that's by 2025, right? Every new vehicle, mainstream vehicle by 2025. This is not 2040. We're talking about 2025, right? And this doesn't include all the negative feedback loops. So I predicted also that the resale value of gasoline and diesel cars were going to crash. So when resale value crashes, that means that the monthly payments for your car are going to go up necessarily, right? And that is starting to happen. And you're going to see that happen a lot more. So pay attention to the plunging resale value of gasoline and diesel cars. And not only that, vans, buses, trucks, everything that moves on four wheels is going to be new, electric by 2025. And of course, the whole market for internal combustion engine automobiles will be wiped out by 2030. And this all includes a one-to-one. I haven't talked about the other elements, the real convergence that is going to make transportation just go into a big disruption starting next year, probably. So by next year or the year after that, I predicted by 2022, you're going to see $22,000 EVs with 200-mile range for $22,000. Now, what do we see now?
Okay, so you heard what he said there. Again, he's just expanding on the overall topic of the flipping the pivotal point where every new vehicle is going to be all electric. But he also went on to say that by 2025, every gas-powered and diesel-powered car will get wiped out. Nobody will want it. Like I said, you won't be able to give the damn thing away. It'd be such a hassle to deal with. Nobody's going to want it. They're not going to leave. It won't leave your sight. They'll be laying around on the street, but nobody's going to want them. They'll be like paperweights. Nobody is going to want them. This is going to be the thing. See? Watch. And what he also just expanded on is he's saying the negative feedback loop. In other words, people the mantra is going to be, why would you want to own a car in general? Okay, why would you even want to own a car? And why in God's name would you want to own a gas-powered car? The regulations and the fines and the fees that the regulators are going to put on your behind for owning a filthy, a polluting a thing like that is going to be so negative. That's what he means by negative feedback loops. It's going to be so negative. It's just going to be prohibitive. You'll be so turned off. The idea of it will be insulting to you. Okay, watch that. Let's see what else Tony has to say. Tony is brilliant, folks. Follow Tony Seba. You'll never go wrong. Will he always be right? I doubt it. Everything has its time. And when his time runs out, and he'll lose his ability to predict, and there'll be somebody else that'll come along. Okay? Nothing is an absolute here. What I'm giving you and what I'm trying to define for you and articulate for you is the basic understanding of how to see indications and how to see data that can help inform your investment strategies. That's why I'm doing this magnification of Tony Seba's predictions, because Tony Seba has been the most accurate, comprehensive prediction artist, Orson Welles level artist that I have seen in the past 5 to 6 years. Okay, and I predict Tony Seba is going to be credible all the way up to 2030 and maybe 2035, because that's he doesn't predict anything beyond 2030 and 2035. But what he's predicting that's going to happen is going to totally revolutionize the way that human beings utilize energy, and the industries that are going to be wiped out are inevitable. And we've seen evidence of it in the last 2 movies that I've done, and you're going to see more. I'm going to focus and really try to hone in on some pivotal things that I think I want to bring to your attention to further support the predictions that Tony made in the last 2 movies. Okay, so let's go on and see what Tony has to say here, and I'll point things out and stop it to, fill the gaps for you.
Fleets, not individual fleet ownership. And that's a disruption not only of petroleum, it's also a disruption of a business model where individuals are not going to own cars anymore. Why? Because again, assume that level 4 autonomous vehicles are available and approved by the regulators, which is important. next year, 2021. That year, the cost per mile of TaaS is going to be up to a 10x cheaper than the cost per mile of owning a car. So, essentially we pay $10,000, $12,000 a year to own a car, all in, right? So if this happens, TaaS happens next year, the day that TaaS is available in a city, London, San Francisco, New York, Beijing, Shanghai, this is the decision that someone is going to have to make. Do I want to spend $50,000 over the next 5 years owning a car, any car? Or do I want to spend $100 a month for a subscription, like a Netflix, for a subscription to transport as a service? No brainer. Every time there's been a 10x improvement in cost, there's been a disruption in all of history, in 10,000 years. Every time we've seen a 10x, we've seen a disruption. So again, assuming that 2021 is the tipping point, which it's looking like, essentially what happens? Cost per mile 10 times cheaper, people stop buying new cars. And
Wow. Wow. Did you hear what he said? And Tony Seba has not been wrong. He has almost been spot on every single prediction. So he's saying assuming that 2021 is the tipping point, which means, what does that mean? How do I translate the word tipping point? He means that the awareness and the knowledge and the awakening to the reality and the economic benefits of owning an all-electric vehicle will be ubiquitous by 2021. Everybody is going to understand it clearly by 2021, by the end of 2021. Autonomy is going to be well established by the end of 2021. Okay? Tesla as an all-electric vehicle maker is going to be dominant throughout the world by the end of 2021. Tesla is going to introduce by the end of 2021, alongside with full self-driving, level 4 and level 5 full self-driving, where you don't have any intervention at all by humans, and the safety factor is fully obvious to everybody. All the insurance company all the insurance companies and the regulators are going to be fully aware of the safety elements of full self-driving, as well as, of course, the clean green usage of all electric vehicles. At that tipping point, 2021, internal combustion engines, ICE engines, are going to be so disrupted and disliked, and you're gonna have a few troglodytes like the Trumpies that are gonna come say something stupid and retarded and mentally ill, because they are really sick people. But the vast majority of the sane people in the world, which is the 75 to 80% of the Americans, all of the Asians, all of the Indians, all of the Europeans, everybody else in the world, all the Africans, everybody is going to be clear. You might have some morons in England saying some stupid shit, every day. You're going to have a couple of them, but the vast majority, and they're going to be a little bit of pushback, and they're going to blow up some things and do suicide bombings and all kinds of, because these people are mentally ill on a whole bunch of other levels. But the vast majority of the good people in the world are going to realize the importance and the savings, the economic savings of going all EV. And now by 2021, transportation as a service, TaaS, is going to hit the mindset of everybody. And ownership of vehicles. Now he pulled the pin on a grenade right there, folks, and said ownership of vehicles, okay, will be a something that most people will not want, because once transportation as a service, which is a subscription service primarily by Tesla, and the rest of all the other automakers are going to have to get on board if they want to survive. Okay? And Tesla's going to offer that by the end of 2021 when full self-driving comes on board. They're going to bring out their robotaxi fleet. They're going to bring out all the like I said, transportation as a service. And Elon even mentioned that in the Q3 report. He says when full self-driving autonomy, the other word they use is autonomy. When autonomy, he said everything is going to be autonomous. When autonomy hits and is ubiquitous, he says most people who are cab drivers, they will own a fleet of cabs, 5 to 10 cabs that they will be running at the same time, all autonomous, no drivers involved, and they'll be pulling money and making money. And between that and transportation as a service, people who can afford the $150 a month to own, have free access to the newest state of the art vehicles on the market. There'll be, you save on insurance, you save on maintenance. Well, a little bit of maintenance is left for an electric car, but who wants to even spend that when you don't have to? You spend $150 a month. It's 150 times 12. Do the math, folks. Do the math. Do the math. You're talking $300 every 2 months. Okay, so 6 times 3. Do the math. Let me see. Yeah, 6 times 3. Do the math. You're talking. That's a massive savings. Your insurance alone, and plus your car note, it'll blow that off the table. And nobody's going to do that. They'd rather pay that $150 a month. You don't have to worry about insurance. You don't have to worry about parking. You don't have to worry about maintenance. You don't have to worry about none of that stuff with the car. And you're going to get the newest car. Every time you call a car to go anywhere, it's going to be brand new. And you can sit there and work on your computer, talk on the phone, watch the scenes, do whatever. There's going to be so much new freedoms. And the economic savings that you're going to get is going to be so ubiquitous and so commonly understood. A gas-powered car, oh please, that'll be the most laughable. People are going to laugh at you. But two things: you're driving your own car, and there'll be people like me who are going to love driving. I love driving, and then you have people, but the young people that grew up, they'll never know anything about driving, so they won't know they won't miss anything because they never have known what it's like, But you're gonna see that people are gonna just say, why own a car? I don't need to own a car. It's like crazy. I take that money, the extra money I put in the stock market, and get paid, let it pay me a dividend, a quarterly dividend, or I can go in and do a few trades every week, and I can raise $5,000-6,000 a week. So I get paid $5,000-6,000 a week. Everybody going into the market and trading, and Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies and all these different commodities that you can invest in. It's going to be ubiquitous. It's going to be common. The young people are going to grow up into this. It's going to be normal. I'll be an old shrew, old fart by then. In another 5 to 10 years, I'll be in my 70s. God willing, and the creek don't rise, as we used to say. But it's going to be a beautiful time, and I'm loving it. I'm looking forward to it, and I want to change with the times. Okay, but let's go on and see what Tony has to say. What else Tony has to say?
That's going to be big, right? So essentially, not only that, transport as a service is going to be cheaper even than operating a car that you already own. So even if you paid it off, the cost of just gasoline, parking, maintenance, and so on of an existing car is going to be a lot higher, 2 to 4 times higher than the cost of transport as a service. So it's going to be a no-brainer. Even if people don't sell their cars right away, eventually they will. Because why would they want to pay 2 to 4 times more for owning and maintaining a car than for something else that's more convenient? Now, when I came up with this TAS idea, Of course, mainstream analysts said that I was insane. They usually do, but I'm usually 5, 10, 15 years ahead of them. So Tesla, Elon Musk recently announced that their TaaS essentially offering is going to cost about 18 cents per mile, which is more or less what within the range of what I'm saying. 18 cents, right? So essentially, the industry is going that way. Now, what happens if TaaS happens 2021? Well, essentially, within 10 years, it's a 10-year disruption. By 2030, 95% of vehicle miles, passenger miles, are going to be TaaS, autonomous, electric, and on-demand, by 2030, 95%. Now, we're going to drive, we're not, but fleets are, 50% more miles for a lot less, right? Because we're only going to pay a tenth on a per mile basis. The implications are astonishing. For one, we're going to stop buying new cars. And then we're going to get rid of our cars, which means that annual demand for new vehicles is going to shrink by about 70% starting over the next couple of years. Shrink by 70%. Now,
Okay. Okay, and I gotta bring this to your attention. Now, this, be honest with you, this is the chart that made me decide to shoot this movie. When I noticed that he said he predicts by 2024, look at that, folks. See that green line there? That says individual ownership. That's by 2024, he predicts. That's 3 years from now. This is December. Forget about 2021 is here. You're talking about by the end of the next 3 years, which is going to be 2024. He predicts that nobody and no individual will want to own a car. In other words, the only people who will be owning cars will be fleets, people who are cab owners like myself. I plan to be a cab fleet owner, right? But no individual will own a car because of transportation as a service. And he says right there, the millions of U.S. passenger vehicles will drop down to looks like maybe 6 million vehicles in all of America because of transportation as a service. That's going to remove wear and tear on the roads. That's going to remove accidents will be unheard of. Be no such thing as the lives that are going to be saved. There'll be no such thing as drunk driving. There'll be no such thing as falling asleep behind the wheel. It just won't exist. And I know this is impossible for you to get your head around this because you have been hypnotized for the last 200 years to believe in so many fairy tales and so much insanity that all of this free thinking and sanity and cleanliness and structure and clean organization is mind-boggling. I know you can't get your head around. I know you don't believe this is possible because up until now you have believed a lie. A perfect lie that is so multi-complex, mind-boggling, intricate, and has so many tentacles on it. This monster it is a monster full of lies and fairy tales and crap that you have been tricked and trapped into believing. So now the truth is being revealed to you and you don't believe it. And that is what one of my number one analysts and my nana, Professor Kaba, said. When someone tells you a perfect lie for hundreds of years, you are going to find the truth impossible to believe. It'll be completely unbelievable when somebody tells you the truth. And this is right in front of your face. But again, the reason I'm telling you this, one, because I want you to prepare your minds for a future that is so bright that is so clean. It's going to get a little ugly because we got a lot of troglodytes, and it's going to take a lot of the American public. It's going to take them quite a few years to realize that they're going to have to get rid of these troglodytes. It's going to be very difficult for people to realize that you're going to have to take control and lock these troglodytes up because they're going to lose their minds. They're being paid off by these oil barons to just it's going to, you got to understand the mentality. The troglodytes, the Trumpies, they're so insane, like the David Koresh and the Jim Jones people. They are so mentally ill and so insane, driven insane by a false lie of superiority that doesn't exist. Doesn't exist, a damn lie. Okay? But that insanity is going to drive them so insane that they will become suicide bombers. You know, as I've always said, they have three sides. Genocide, they did that with the COVID-19 virus that we're still going through. Homicide is the mass shootings and things that they have been doing, and the individuals massacring that they've been doing. And the last one is going to be suicide. And that comes from I believe Philippe Matthews and Professor Kaba brought this to my attention earlier this year in 2020. And I didn't understand what they meant. And now I can see it so clear. And you probably say, well, what does that have to do with stock investing and everything? Well, listen, since you know that, your mind can be prepared, so when you see it, you won't be shocked. Because I've already peppered your mind with the possibility that this can happen. So you won't be shocked. You'll be disappointed. You'll be saddened, as will I. Okay? But this is grown folks stuff here, folks. And we've seen so much murder and killing, and no matter how much you see now, it's nothing compared to how bad it was years ago. 50 years ago, 60 years ago, 100 years ago, thousands of years ago. These people were massacring millions of people. Most recently in certain parts of Africa, in the Congo, because of all of the nonsense that people have been tricked into believing. Okay, so take advantage of this. When you see these companies that come out that have transportation as a service, and Tesla is going to be number one. So if you've already got your money into Tesla, you're already ahead of the game. And this, again, he's predicting 3 years from now. Forget about 2020. 2020 is over. We are in 2021, folks. As of December, we are in, actually, as of December, 2021 is over. We're building on 2022. And when we get to December 2021 at the end, that's going to be 2022. And when you say 2022, just go back and look at when people tell you, are we in the 21st century? Or are we in the 22nd century? Why are we in the 21st century? And every year we're looking at it says 2020, right? It says 2021. It says 2022. But we're still saying 20. So 20 is supposed to be the century. Why are they calling this the 21st century, but yet we're saying this is 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025, all the way up to 2099. And when we go past 2099, we're going to be in 2100. And they're not going to say that's the 21st century. They're going to tell you that's the 22nd century. Because once you get to 2100, that is the end of 2100. So 2101 is the beginning of the 22nd century. So and then every year after that is going to be 2101, 2102, and 21 all the way up to 2199. And when you get to 2199, that is going to be the last year of the 22nd century. It's very difficult, I know, for you to get your mind around it, but think about it and you'll see what I'm talking. I say this to people and they say, boy, what's wrong with this dude? But look, they'll tell you, ask anybody. This is year 2020. ask them what century are we in. They'll tell you this is the 21st century. They don't tell you it's the 20th century. Why don't they tell you that? Come on, folks. Look at it. It's right in front of your face, as plain as the nose on your face. This is the 21st century. But the year is 2020. We're getting ready to go into 2021. So don't let the 2021, you hear 2021 and you think the 21 is the century. No, no, no. 20 is the century, but the number of the century is 2021. But the century is the 21st century because this is 2021 of the 21st century. When we get to 2099, that will be the 99th year of the 21st century. Ask anybody and you'll see this, okay? Let's go on and see what Tony has to say. But I wanted to bring this chart to your mind here. He says the annual demand for new vehicles will shrink by 70%, starting in it'll start in the middle of 2021 according to this chart, but it will cross over. It will hit the apex by 2020. It will hit a pivotal point by 2022, folks. That's 1 year from now. 1 year from now, transportation as a service is going to start to take off in 2022 in earnest. It'll come out. I think it'll come out in full in 2021, by the end of 2021. Okay, let's go on and see what Tony has to say.
This sounded insane about 3 years ago when I first said it, but look at the figures now from another disruption, right? It's a different disruption, but what the disruption that we're seeing today shows is what's possible, right? 3 years ago, a lot of people didn't think it was possible. Now it's happening for another reason, but it's happening. So over the next 10 years, the total size of the US fleet is going to shrink by about 80%. So we're going to have 20% fewer cars on the road. Now, not everybody's going to give up their cars. Even by 2030, I expect about 60% of cars essentially to be fleet and 40% to be individually owned. But fleets are going to drive 100,000 miles and individuals drive 10,000, which means that 95% of miles are going to come from fleets, which are going to be electric. More implications, huge implications. Every family in America is going to get back to save $5,600 per year, which means that US disposable income will increase by about $1 trillion per year, forever, right? And our additional productivity boost by not having to drive, and we can work or study or do whatever while we not drive, that's another $1 trillion. I mean, this is bigger than any tax benefits ever. This is the biggest boost to the economy, right? Environment. There is an 80% decrease in energy consumption just by going all electric. Just by going all electric, we save 80% of energy. 90% decrease in CO2 emission. And did I say we're going to get money back? This is not going to cost us money. We're going to get money back and decrease in CO2 by 90%. We're going to save 1 million plus lives per year because, like I said, autonomous vehicles are far safer and will be getting safer and safer by the minute going forward. Implications for the oil industry. Well, this is what I predicted in 2017 and what I predicted also in 2014. Oil demand is going to peak at about 100 million barrels per day, 2020, this year. And it's going to drop to 70 million barrels per day by 2030. Again, I was called insane. It's not going to happen. It's not. Oil demand is not going to go down by 30 million barrels per day. Well, guess what happened? Well, also, when it goes down to 70 million barrels per day, what happens to the cost? Well, the whole demand doesn't need to go down by that much in order for oil prices to crash. So my prediction was that oil cost in the world markets would go down to about $25 per barrel as soon as 2021, right? Again, even a few months ago, mainstream analysts said, not going to happen, right? That oil would go down to 20 or 25. Well, guess what? It already has. It already has. This is what we saw last week and this week. World demand went down to 70 million barrels per day because of another disruption, right? And cost of oil in the markets went down to 20. What I told you many years ago, right? If you paid attention to what I said, you may have saved money, right? Boom, $20 and minus $30 million demand already in 2020. Now, this is what happens when oil goes down to $20. Oil sands gone, right? Stranded forever. Oil that can't compete at $20, at $25 in the market is stranded forever. Not just oil, refineries, pipelines that depend on those expensive oil, right? Offshore, deep water, gone. Shale, gone. You can't compete at 20 or 25, gone. Those assets are stranded. It's happening already, like I said. Not only that, it's even worse than what I said would happen. Over the last few days, oil went into negative territory. Zero, less than zero. People were paying for others to take oil off their hands. This was inconceivable just a few months ago. It's happening already. And this is the shape of things to come. This is the collapse of the oil industry. Okay? Now, it's going to recover temporarily, but this is what we're going to see soon. Minus 30 million barrel demand and oil prices at about 20 or 25, just like I predicted.
Wow.
So,
Wow. Okay. You're looking at the chart, and he's predicted this 5 years ago, folks, 6 years ago. How could he do that? You got to do some heavy research to be able to be this accurate. Because people were saying, they were laughing him off the stage, just like they just like they were laughing. I forget. I'll put his picture up here. This Indian guy who used to work for Google, and he was an engineer, and he would tell people things about Tesla and about there's another company with Branson, where he was doing with what do you call it, with the planes. That's the latest thing that he's been doing, orbital flights and whatnot. But he brought up the thing about Apple, and people thought he was crazy. He brought up the thing about Amazon, and people thought he was crazy. They laughed him off the stage. And this is the same thing that's happening again. Okay, now Tony Seba is telling you, but what Tony is telling you is devastating. Anybody who's got any money in oil, sell everything you got now while you can. Oil's not going to disappear altogether, like I've said in my previous movies, but it's going to be, you're going to lose so much money, in oil. I mean, if you want to short oil, now you can make some money in options, with options trading. I don't do options trading, okay? But this is pretty devastating, folks. And look at the year. This chart that he has here that I'm looking at, U.S. utility scale solar cheaper than natural gas, coal, and nuclear. That's the one I'm looking at. But he's telling you about what's happening with oil in this slide that we're looking at. I don't know what the hell. So you can see clearly that if you're in oil, you own any stocks in oil, you're DOA. You're already DOA. Okay, let's go on and see what he has to say. And I'm very happy about this with oil, because they are blood suckers, vulture capitalists, and they've been taking advantage and polluting and destroying ecosystems all over the world and leaving oil wells uncapped, leaking into the thing. And I say there should be a global movement to find every one of these oil companies and drain them of every dime that they have, and make them close pay for the closing of every one of these oil wells that they drilled. And the United States need to be the leader in putting our foot up their ass and make them clean up their garbage. They rip us off with the oil and the gas, and then they want us to clean up their goddamn mess? Oh, hell no. See, this is a tolerance I don't have. And I'm telling you, you got to put your foot up these troglodytes' behinds and make them crawl back under the rock that they came from. We got to put them down and make sure we keep them depressed so they can't get loose. Because they are destroyers, they're spreaders, they're germs, they're viruses, they're just ignorant. They're not bad human beings. They're just demented. They're mentally ill. So you have to treat them like you would treat a mental patient. You have to lock them up. You have to give them some kind of drug that will numb out their brains and separate them from the society, because they will murder hundreds of thousands of people because they're mentally ill. Okay? And that's what you have to do. You don't have to kill them, but you got to find them, weed them out, drug them down, put them in straitjackets, and put them away to protect the rest of the children and the people in the society, the old people and everything, because they'll just murder randomly. They ain't not going to be able to, they're too dumb and ignorant to be specific. Okay? So we're going to have to lock them up. Let's see what Tony has to say. Okay. So I didn't want to take you through any more of that, but that's basically it. The two key things I wanted to point out in this movie was the impact of transportation as a service and the impact it's going to have on the trickle down or the domino effect that it's going to have on oil and refining and the refiners and the plants and all of these big filthy drilling sites that they're offshore. That's going to all come to the end. Tar sands is already dead. Coal is already dead. Pipelines are going to be dead. So we Native Americans don't have to worry about nobody messing up their watersheds and whatnot. All of that's going to come to an end. Mother Nature is moving in, and the people are evolving forward. So I'm going to keep it short here, family, and I hope you've gotten something out of this. This is the last of the Tony Seba series, and I want you to continue to do your own research, make your own decisions and whatnot, and I just want to show you what I'm doing. Okay, family? Take care. One love. I should say I'll see you in the next version of Bantu Tesla.